We set up our warehouse, and the people in our parts department, they're right next to the warehouse door. So if they need to look at something, pull something off the shelf, if a customer needs additional pictures of it, it's right there. We've really only hit the tip of the iceberg as far as everything that we purchased. We're adding 20 to 30 items a day, but there's another 2,000 to 3,000 items that we need to add. We'd like people to understand that we're not just a parts guy answering a phone, entering a part number, that we really know the cars, that we can help, that you're not just buying the part from us, you're buying the assistance. You're getting the knowledge and the help of what part's the right part for your car, how to put it on, where it goes, a little bit more than just here's your part, thank you kind of thing.
Round 7 of the Spec-5 World Tour takes us from Monza a week ago to Mount Panorama Circuit Bathurst in the land of wonder, the land down under, and what a race we're going to have before us in these MX-5 Cup cars. 45 minutes of action around the mountain, Australia's greatest, most famous, most challenging racing circuit, and most globally well-known. Coverage here on HJBC with myself, David Haynes, Devin Peters, Michael Derby, brought to you by RC Sales Porsche Parts. Go to rcsales.com for all that is Porsche. RC has thousands of parts available for virtually any Porsche model, providing high-quality service with a personal approach, and with worldwide shipping available, you won't need to go anywhere else. Visit rcsales.com today. Well, it is a nice little field we've got for ourselves tonight, Devin, and they are just ready to go qualifying on the mountain. It's not quite the Nordschleife where we were for round 4, but it's the closest you can get with an Australian accent.
It's definitely a little bit of a Diet Coke Nordschleife, but it'll kill you just the same. I can tell you that. And we saw plenty of death in the practice session, so I'm excited to see what we'll be able to pull off in the qualifying here.
Yep, indeed. In fact, already some drivers finding the wall on their outlap in this 15-minute session. Drivers allowed 4 flying laps, and at the size of this circuit, 6.2 kilometers and just a tiny, tiny little bit of change. It is tough to get around, I think, for all 4 of those, and certainly you can't be throwing it into the wall on your outlaps and needing to reset and restart and thinking you're going to get enough attempts to really push the limits around here to set a competitive qualifying time.
In freedom units, that's 3.9 miles. I know we're on an Australian field trip today, Haynes, but you really got to keep it together.
I'm immersing the people in the local units, customs, and measures. So it's 22 drivers at the moment out on track for qualifying. Here's Andrew Gilliland. He's had some success in the open class so far this season, and he is definitely down Conrod Straight at the moment, looking to warm up those tyres before he gets into his first flying lap. One of the youngest competitors in the field, and it's not even close. Definitely the youngest competitor in the field. Mike Dam was the Pro Class winner last round a week ago, but I do not see him here, and in fact, I think we knew that he wasn't going to be here this week.
Yeah, late entry by Rui Coimbra. He's had some success earlier in the season, and he'll be looking to make an appearance after missing all the qualifying.
Yep, so we're just about the point where some drivers are far enough around, they're about to start their flying laps, their first attempt at a qualifying time at Mount Panorama. So who has just started laps?
Got Chris Burner.
Sean Hayes as well. Let's look at Sean Hayes for this lap, I reckon. Get ourselves a good view of the circuit. Turn 1, probably one of the most simple ones on the track at just a square 90-degree left-hander, but it's off camber at the apex, and your run out of that corner, very, very important in these low horsepower cars, because immediately you're heading up mountain straight, gaining elevation, going over the little rise here. On the left, a couple bed and breakfasts. On the right, a little motocross track, but turn number 2, Griffin's Bend, part of the road circuit street course nature of this place is that there is a crown, a little camber to the road there, and you really got to be on the inside, right up against the curb, because if you're a little bit wide, you just do not grip up. And then uphill, difficult braking zone through the cutting, very tight, very narrow, and from this point onwards, there's no room for mistakes because it's a concrete wall to the left, a concrete wall to the right.
And vicious concrete walls they are. Can't make any mistakes here. Touch dirt, touch concrete, you're going to pay the price, both in damage and maybe out your pocket if it's the real deal.
Highest point of the circuit at McPhillamy Park, big sweeping left-hander, and then it's all about bravery and track knowledge from here because it is so blind over the crest, blind down towards the dipper, and blind all the way around to the elbow. And I think Hayes got a little bit wide at the end of the S's there, but so far this lap clean with some respect for the walls. It means that this time will definitely count, and you'll have a couple more laps later on to push it a little bit harder. Out the elbow, still heading downhill. If you killed the engine now, you'd make it all the way to the start-finish line. But that's not going to be what happens for Sean Hayes, as it's a long run in these Mazdas to the braking zone at the Chase.
I'm still surprised that you wild things used to run it all the way down to the last corner here without the Chase in the middle of it. That would have been a heck of a show.
Yeah, at some point in the 80s, they put a stop to it, but they gave us a very, very fast kink into the braking zone for the chicane of the Chase. Fancy hotel to the right, grimy camping to the left, underneath the bridge, and you're looking for just the final corner. Again, back to a relatively simple 90-degree left-hander, but you can't run out wide across the grass, and the timing line comes up very quickly on the exit of the final corner. We've got some of the first qualifying times there now, with Michael Coates currently in the provisional pole position from Simon Foweather, Odyssey Adams Jr., and Sean Hayes. That time put him to fourth.
I'm watching Tim and Brandley coming through the Chase here, and he's lighting the world on fire with those sector times. I have a feeling we're going to see him near the top right away. Coming into Murray's corner, got to get so late on the apex here to make this corner work, but he does it really cleanly, and that lap was quick. That's going to be a 2:30.7, 6/10 clear of the rest of the field. Representing Birdcage SimSport is Timon, and might be a little bit of a home field advantage for him tonight by the sounds of things.
The only Club Oz NZ driver out on the field, predominantly Americans, though Ray Lombardi, originally from New York, in the Netherlands for a long time now. I believe he would have registered his account while he was in Europe where he lives, and therefore he is Club Benelux, but doesn't quite sound it. Here he goes in towards turn 2 there. He's right up against the curb, like we said, maybe taking a little bit too much of it at the apex there, but you go very, very sharply uphill. This is some of the steepest uphill on the circuit, so your momentum off of turn 2 matters all the way up to the cutting, and then in a car like this, you're close to flat out from the exit of the cutting there, sweeping around till you get to McPhillamy Park, and just a little bit of respect to the walls there. I don't think they've had that particular brand of air conditioning sponsorship for quite a while. But certainly the walls haven't moved, the track hasn't changed, an immense amount of history around here.
Oh man, I love how the cars are just slammed through that compression as they go over the crested skyline and then down the hill. It's real low, and I bet you're feeling your stomach drop out as you go through the dipper and down towards the elbow. Haynes, when are you having me down for a lap around this thing?
Mate, when you make the trip, you can stay on my campsite too, dude.
We'll have to.
Mate, you know what I'll do? In the spirit of Australian hospitality, I'll even throw another shrimp on the barbie for you.
I'm so honored. I don't even know what to say. Can I get a hot dog too? I'm allergic to shrimp.
No, yeah, it's fine. Legit? You got some of that shellfish allergy?
A little bit.
Okay.
Watching Lombardi here, though, as he comes through the chase. This is an actual motor race we're spectating today. Clean lap for him by the looks of things. He's put some personal bests on the board. He'll be improving, assuming he gets the last corner right. And he did pretty good. Didn't quite get all the way to the apex there. Crosses the line, and that bumps him to a 232.2. Good enough for an improvement, and ties him with Camden Hibbett. Always sucks to be the second guy to run the same lap time, you know?
That happens, but definitely frustrating for whoever wasn't the first driver. Camden Hibbett, look at him trying to use up all of the track now on this attempt, pushing the limits a little bit further, using that little bit of pavement outside of the white lines, heading up from the exit of the cutting through Reed Park there, Sulman, and towards McPhillamy Park. I'm telling you, every time I've been here, there have been a lot more people beside the track, up against the fences, across the top of the mountain. A lot of big campsites, some of the most passionate fans in motorsport up there.
I was just going to ask you where the kangaroos were, where the rev heads were. I mean, they're all missing by the looks of things.
Yeah, you've got to worry about kangaroos at the bottom of the mountain and empty beer cans being thrown around at the top half of the mountain.
I heard one time you guys kicked a rock in front of a guy you didn't like that much.
I don't recall that, but maybe. Here's Tom Athon, open class winner a week ago, racking up a couple of wins. Also won that class at Laguna Seca, I suspect, if I recall correctly. And so at the moment we look at qualifying, and he is the top open class driver in qualifying, still ahead of Andrew Gilliland, who I think it's fair to say has been his toughest competitor in category so far this season.
Yeah, 1 and 2 in the points, those two, and Gilliland has been consistently giving Tom a run for his money. Tom definitely seems to have a little bit of an edge on pace, but Gilliland's been doing a better job on the race strategy by the looks of things. So we'll see if that trend carries on today. Gilliland running that real nice red and blue livery there as he comes up the mountain straight.
Indeed, Camden Hibbett crosses the line, and I think he's improved himself to 4th there. Oh, and then at turn 1, he's pushed it too hard. He's gone the wrong side of the curb into the dirt, like I mentioned earlier, and that's going to be qualifying done for Camden Hibbett. He knew this lap needed to be quicker than the last. He's used all the track, got a lot of the apex curb, and that's what slid him out there. And sick little donut, I'll take that. But that's his qualifying done. Won't be any better than 4th, but we'll see if anyone else has got anything left.
Ray Lombardi's put one on the board, 231.8, shaves another 0.4 off his time. So he's heading up the mountain straight one more time. A couple other guys putting in quicker laps. David Staub's improving himself everywhere, but still pretty far off the podium positions. Currently qualified 20th. I think I saw a purple sector there from Michael Copes, who's coming down the mountain now. He was quick in the first sector, a little slower in the next two, but the closest thing I'd say we've got to competing with Timon, who's really shown himself to be the class of the field. He must have gone and, gotten the kangaroos to, give him a push up the hill or something like that. Running in 230.7, 0.6 clear of second place right now.
So most drivers are on their final of 4 flying laps at the moment. Michael Coates, one of them, fastest of all in the first little sector, not improving the rest of the way around. And as you can see, he's decided to practice what's actually a relatively challenging pit entry here. There's 2 chicanes in pit entry before you get to the start of the pit lane speed limiter, and it's narrow on the way in as well. Chris Brunnemer crosses the line. He's in 4th. That lap just completed was his best, so he pushes Camden Hibbett down, and he won't have time to finish this lap, I don't think.
Yeah, we got to be looking for people who are on the second half of laps at this point. Tom was coming to the line, but had to run a pretty bad line through the chase that cost him what looked to be an improvement otherwise. Andy Kossik's taking the most mint car through the pit lane entry right now, listening to your advice and practicing that pit lane. And in recent years, we've seen some pretty impressive lines into that thing in some of the supercars and the GT3 cars, seeing him jumping it. Ray Lombardi's coming to the final corner. Gets it a little bit loose, crosses the line. We'll see if that's enough for an improvement. Really hurts to run. Yeah, and it doesn't quite do it. Really hurts to run such a good first half of the lap and then kind of mess it up on the way out. Does a nice backflip for us to close off the qualifying, I think. I'm not sure there's anyone else on track anymore.
There's one or two. And
Odyssey's running.
yeah, Odyssey Adams Jr., Stab, Orlando Herald, Lee Martin, and Chris Prunham has just found the wall there. So there's a couple out there, but there's only a couple that I can see getting around and finishing their lap. It's even touch and go here for Paulo Coimbra because he's got 30 seconds left to make it to the line, and I'm not sure you're going to get all the way down Conrod Straight through the chase and then out the final corner in 20 seconds from now. Super touch and go. I'm not sure that'll make it.
Odyssey Adams coming to the line. He crosses with another green sector there. That's 3 green sectors in a row, and that puts him up to second place. Coming out of nowhere there. He put the tire off on the last 2 laps, so he kind of had the banker of the first lap and manages to find something of a miracle there on the last one.
And the clock runs out just before Paulo Coimbra can complete that lap. But Odyssey Adams Jr. stuck the time in just at the perfect moment to jump a handful of spots and set the grid for round 7 of the Spec-5 World Tour, thusly with a front row of Timon Bramley and Odyssey Adams Jr. Behind them, Michael Coates and Simon Foweather, Chris Prunham and Camden Hibbett are row number 3, Sean Hayes and Ray Lombardi, Rui Coimbra and Kane Lasky is our top 10, and then we will find Trevor Roy, Geordie Fike, Tom Athon and Andrew Gilliland, 2 best open class drivers sharing the row there. Behind them, Brian Zabelski, Charles Vaccaro, David Stabe, Greg Mack, Jose Gonzalez, Paulo Coimbra, Orlando Herald, Andy Kossick and Lee Martin. Devon, what do some of those driver number colors mean?
Well, I'd have you know that the red color would indicate the leader of the pro class, and the blue number would indicate the leader of the open class. And then we've got a few special colors that you can only get if you're a real valuable member of the community, the kind of valuable member that ponies up a little donation, you know what I'm saying? So we got the gold numbers for those real high rollers, we got the silvers for those sort of medium rollers, and then we got the bronze numbers for the entry level rollers, you'd say. Any colors I'm missing there?
No, I think you nailed it. They're ready on the grid now, and the pace car is about to get them rolling, formed up on Conrod Straight. So just a short run through the chase, out the final corner, and to get us going for 45 minutes of racing action at Mount Panorama. Again, big lap around here compared to, say, Laguna Seca, where we were not too long ago. It narrows up the strategy options because in 45 minutes, you'll cut less laps. There's less laps inside of the pit window, and Camden Hibbett has gone for a full 360 on the formation lap. That's what's caused this split in the field, the top couple cars, and Camden Hibbett, my goodness, I don't know what's happened there. The pace car pulls in. The field are not in great formation, but it can't get waved off. Best that I know, Timon Bramley on the pole, on the inside, Odyssey Adams Jr. around him on the outside. They're going to get going. Kane Lasky's gone into the fence before they've come to the green flag as well.
Yeah, it looked like Sean Hayes and was the reason for Camden Hibbett's turning around, but Charles Vaccaro's just gotten a piece of, was that another one gone? Oh yeah, Greg Mack is facing the wrong way back there. It's been all kinds of chaos at the start today.
Absolutely, it has. Not a clean start at Mount Panorama for the Spec-5 World Tour. So Hibbett was around, and then Yeah, not sure exactly what happened for Lasky. And yeah, there's also Hibbett around the outside in the wall. A lot happening there. A lot happening there. No dramas for the
Oh,
pole setup, but Simon Foweather gets a
oh,
hit, and now he's in the fence at Griffin's Bend on the outside of turn number 2. Who was behind him and tagged him?
that looked like a really ambitious move up the inside from Roy Coimbra. He makes the move on Sean Hayes really cleanly, but he breaks so deep and rolls so much speed that he kind of tags Saputra there, and there's this, or sorry, Simon Foweather rather, and there's nowhere for him to go, and bounces off the wall back into traffic. Luckily, he tows it right away, and the spanner monkeys are going to be working overtime today, I gotta say.
Up front, converting from that pole position and a good qualifying now suddenly seems like it was more important than we would have anticipated after all of that. Timon Bramley leads from Odyssey Adams Jr., Michael Coates, Chris Brunnemer, this top 4 forming a little bit of a breakaway. Rui Coimbra there in 5th, and it's his contacts with Simon Foweather that split the field up a little bit.
Jose Gonzalez has had a moment at Skyline, puts all 4 tires off and runs it through the grass and the sand and the grass again before pulling it back as he comes over the crest. That was a little bit of excitement there for sure. You see it here as he comes over around the corner, over the crest, and runs it wide. It's so easy to do here. Jumps the curb and just keeps it off the wall.
Way more excitement than you want on the opening lap. There's a bit of excitement for the race leader because you just can't get away in these cars. Long, full throttle blast up Mountain Straight, incredibly high speed run down the hill at Conrod Straight, and it means Odyssey Adams Jr. still all over the back of the race leader, and our top 4 are going to get away with 1 lap now complete. Next group behind, Rui Coimbra, Sean Hayes, Ray Lombardi, Trevor Roy's picked up a couple of early spots, and so too has Tom Athon, now 9th, leading open class, and with a lot of space between himself and Charles Vaccaro behind, now 2nd in that class from Andrew Gilliland back in 3rd.
Yeah, Gilliland looks like he's gotten involved somewhere along the line with some of the dramas, whether that was checking up or taking evasive action. Not quite so clear right now. Right behind Tom Aton in that blue and black car is David Staub. We gave him a shout out in qualifying for being in 20th. He's all the way up to 10th after the first lap. So he's been one of the winners from all the dramas that we've had out there. They're too wide behind him, though. It looks like Camden Hibbett's going to be trying to make some ground up, and Camden Hibbett real late on the brakes. Clean move this time on Brian Schabelsky, and he sets his eyes forward. He's looking for a spot here on Jordy Fike.
Yeah, you can see the damage on the right-hand side of the car for Hibbett where he tagged the wall in the final corner, coming to the race start before even crossing the line to get underway, and now he's in the middle of the pack, in the middle of the field, and hoping to make a couple clean passes this time around.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough sledding out there. I need what's the tough sledding equivalent in Australia? Anyway, while you're thinking on, Odyssey's gotten it a little wrong up at the front. It's tough because you're trying to make time on a guy ahead like Odyssey is here on Timon at the front, but he's making so much time on you over the hill that if you can't, Odyssey sliding again. He's all kinds of loose right now trying to keep up with Timon, and if he keeps this up, he's going to be in the wall if he's not careful.
Super risky, that half of the track that goes around the top of the mountain. Timon Bramley trying to get away at the lead. Odyssey Adams Jr., Michael Coates, Chris Brunnemer now battling down Conrod Straight, and that moment you talked about, Devon, it's letting the race leader almost sneak away with this.
Yeah, I'm going to have to hope you're really, really clean through this next section here, and Odyssey really nails it. Gets that nice yaw into the car, almost gets the rear end sliding as he comes to the apex there. We'll see at the last corner here. Murray's corner, can he get it right? Timon nails it. Odyssey sliding again and into the wall, cleans up 3rd and 4th. Oh, and that's brutal. Chris Brunnemer and Michael Coates hurt and a long way from the entry of the pit lane. This is going to really change the complexion of this race. Timon Bramley can put it on cruise control.
Wow. second with the slide in the final corner, tags the wall, spears back into third and fourth, who could do nothing about it. Odyssey Adams Jr. with the most creative pit entry I've ever seen just now. I think that will be an unsafe pit entry, though. But really hands this to Timon Bramley. Here he goes, trying to find the little hole in the wall there. He says, I'm not doing another lap with this damage. Now a 7-second lead for Timon Bramley. Go to hjbc.live for live timing, by the way, as well. And that'll show you that a big, big free kick for the hometown boy. Now Michael Coates in second. Doesn't appear to have picked up as much damage as the others did.
Michael Coates was involved, but only with a glancing blow. He might have gotten away with it there. He's got some damage over that right rear fender, though, that I'm worried has the car handling a little worse than usual, because he's definitely given a lot of space to some of those exterior walls, as I maybe have to correct myself. He gets pretty close to the wall at Skyline, or at McPhilly Park, as he heads into Skyline.
So the battling continues elsewhere. Camden Hibbett now up into 7th place, bringing a train of cars along. Tom Athon still ahead of this group, now 6th outright for the open class leader, while Andrew Gilliland up to 2nd in open class is at the tail of this group. Look at how much he's able to step away from all of them through the commitment section, from Skyline down through the S's, down through the Dipper, through the Elbow. Camden Hibbett pulling a 2nd on the drivers behind, like Geordie Fike and Brian Stabe, through that section of the lap.
Don, you're right calling it a commitment corner, because you can't see the exit, but you need to be on the throttle before you can sort of see it in order to get all the momentum, especially in a car like this. And I got to say, if Tom Athon manages to hold on to this spot, this is going to be an absolute coup with the way the points are handled here. Finishing position is what determines your points, so it's not relative to your class, it's relative to the rest of the field. And 6th place would be that'd be a haul for an open class driver.
So Jose Gonzalez also moving to 3rd in the open class. Vaccaro has dropped back a couple of spots, also now with Paulo Coimbra in front of him, and they are their own little fun action group there, 3rd, 4th, 5th in the open class. Kicking off their lap. Whoa, you've just got to be so careful with the track limits on the exit there. Even if you're not in the wall, you'll find the concrete, you'll find the grass, and then eventually you might find a wall. Side by side, heading up Mountain Straight. The driver's right-hand side is where you want to be. All of the grip is on the inside at Griffin's Bend. As far as the camber goes, you cannot outbrake someone and get around the outside easily here. He's going to try, and he's going to pull it off, though. Way, way around the outside. Moving ahead, Paulo Coimbra.
Really nice racing from him, and holding the spot admirably against the offense there from Charles Vaccaro. You know, he says he only races the Spec-5, and it shows he's a bit of a specialist around here, but it's going to be tough if Charles decides to make it too wide through here.
Hibbett back to being pursued by Geordie Fike and David Stabe. Across the top of the hill we go. This is the part where young Camden seems to have pace to burn on the rest of them, and immediately goes from bumper to bumper to pulling off a 2nd on them.
I was going to say, it's a young man's section of the course, just just throwing yourself, almost like you're throwing yourself at the wall as you go over the Dipper there, and it feels like you're going to miss the corner every time until the car finally lands and grips up. He's got a pretty large gap there to Tom Athon ahead, but you're right that he's making a lot of time. He's cleared Aton's last lap by a few tenths. Let's see if that's enough. Oh, 2 wheels on the exit too, over the grass.
He's bringing them all with him, trying to catch that next car, who's trying to go with Trevor Roy. they look like Sean Hayes, Ray Lombardi, no damage, maybe catching Michael Coates, who could be nursing just a little bit of it. So Coates now being caught by this next group behind. There's Tom Ayton with the track limits. Doesn't help you run out of the corner and up the mountain. I've walked a couple laps of this track. I've had the burn on my calves to show for it. It is steeply uphill at these parts of the circuit.
Well, and you got to think that Coates is going to be trying to stretch it here out to the opening of the pit window.
Honestly, I can't see much, but he did get skittled by the other drivers, so it's hard to say in that way.
It's that right rear corner that's got me worried. I don't think it's costing him a lot on the straights, but it could be that the toe's a little bit out, you know? Because every time he's in these left-hand bends, he seems to be sticking it, you know, keeping himself a little extra safe.
On board with Trevor Roy, one of the big movers in the race so far, started out of 11th, now he's in 5th, looking at 2nd, 3rd and 4th in front of him. Going well for him so far at the moment. Oh, hello wipers.
That's the kind of move you make when you're desperately correcting a slide, I think. At the middle of the corner, just accidentally clip that wiper button. Coates has done a pretty good job that time through the forced elbow, and he's going to give a draft to Sean Hayes behind, but maybe not lose quite as much as he might have.
So that was the race leader, now 8 seconds ahead of 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, who come over the rise underneath the little gantry that carries a TV camera. Past Robbo's place. Hello, Robbo. And now the biggest braking zone of the lap and one of the best passing opportunities as well.
No passes this time, but they're still making pretty good pace here. And it looks like Sean is starting to get a little bit feisty behind Coates. Sean had 6/10 on him last time by. We'll see what the difference is at the line this time. Coates picks up a bit, but still another 3/10 out of him. And Sean has got to be the favorite for a run up the mountain this time.
So our race leader just starting lap 6. End of this lap, we suspect, is the earliest opening of the fuel window to be able to fill and get to the end of this 45-minute race. I wonder if there are definitely a couple of drivers be interested in it.
It looks like Charles Vaccaro's had a little drama there on the last corner. Getting it a little bit wrong as he's coming in and spun up the tires. Easy to do when you hit that inside curb. Manages to keep it just millimeters off the wall though, and makes the good choice to turn it around by going through the dirt. Costs him a bit more time, but keeps him out of the path of the oncoming.
Second, 3rd, 4th, 5th, across the top of the mountain, past the soccer club, where they've got a little canteen that sells burgers, and to Peter Brock's skyline, throwing yourself in a leap of faith off the edge of the world, and knowing that the track is on the other side, and the sequence of corners that follows. Oh, so committed. Coates looks pretty good through this sector at the moment, but there has got to be at least half a second worth of tow from the apex of the very, very tight elbow there, all the way down the mountain and back towards town.
It can be enough to just have pace through the mountain though, because if you can build that gap up when the draft isn't really much of a factor, you can, you know, sort of hold it all the way through to, you know, through to the chase, and then again across the line up the mountain. We'll see though, Sean makes up a lot under braking this time. And a cleaner line through the chase too.
Yeah, gets just a little bit of a kick, the inside tyres up. None of these drivers are going to go for pit entry. The race leader hasn't either. Of course, he's got a big wallop of clean air you'd run as long as you can with clear track in front of you, and the kind of race pace that he's had. So Timon Bramley still leads, and none of these drivers pit either. So that kind of crosses off what we were maybe saying about Michael Coates, a driver back deeper in the field that does have damage though. Camden Hibbett, he comes in.
I've actually just caught an eye of Andy Cossack. He's got it wrong at the cutting this time and has backed it into the wall. Gets it facing the right way again, but that car's a little bit worse for wear. You'll see him come in here. He kind of locks it up, and you really got to straighten out the car before you turn into the cutting, otherwise it'll just come around on you like that. Bounces it off the wall, like I said, and continues on, but he gives up a spot to Jose Gonzalez, responding to the cheers from the crowd, you got to think.
My experience is that the language of the crowd around here is rarely broadcastable. That's very wide at the exit of the cutting from Michael Coates, but he gets away with it.
That's just because they speak with that funny accent, right, Haynes?
Yeah, for sure. If you can't understand them, I can't. So Ethon's still in his own little bubble of clean air in 6th outright, leader of class, but I think last lap David Stabe and the group that he's pulling around from 7th caught him by about a second per lap, so these drivers going quick. Now Stabe leading from Fike, isn't it? Camden Hibbett was in front of them and he's pitted, so now it's about Stabe's job to pick up the pace to try to catch the next group of cars. Fike, Zabelski and Andrew Gilliland behind.
Critically, Camden's stop, I think, is coming within the window, so he ought to be good to the end. I wonder. It is really difficult, it must be said. Tom Aton running all alone without any reference points and without a draft down the mountain and up the mountain. It does make a pretty big difference. And I'm actually watching Jordy Fike here. He's making it too wide into the chase with the likes of Jordy Fike on the outside. No, sorry, that's Jordy Fike and David Staub on the outside. But Staub gives it up easy, lets Fike by.
You love to see this if you're Andrew Gilliland, because it means the drivers in front are leapfrogging, catching your next competitor for class, pulling second in the open class up towards the leader of that class. And so now it's Jordy Fike that's going to lead this little group. Not many pit stop callers this time around. It's sort of either at the early part of the window or a lot of them trying to leave it late. Stabe getting left behind a little bit, and a bit further up the road, Michael Coates, Sean Hayes all over him. As they go through Griffin's Bend, Michael Coates washes out wide, gets the wrong side of the curb, and you can't actually stand there as a spectator. That's private property, and you're right up against the tyre barrier as well. Coates has no respect for the barriers at the moment.
No fear, he's already got bumps on that car, so it doesn't matter what the paint looks like by the end of it. He's going to be having to replace some panels no matter what. Always brave to take curb there, and if there was any toe damage there, he's getting confident with it. He tracks it all the way out. Sean Hayes looking up the inside over the top, but he doesn't take it. A little bit out of shape though for Coates, though, kind of getting behind the S's. Manages to gather it up critically, but that's really uncomfortable. When you get out into those marbles, it can be razor thin, whether you're going into the wall or making the corner.
Bit of movement in this group here with Kane Lasky, Paulo Coimbra, Rui Coimbra, and Orlando Harrell. Now, I think... No, I don't.
I think Hayes is going to make a move into the chase. I thought Hayes was going to make a move into the chase, but he lifted, and he decided to give the spot to Michael Coates. I do wonder if there's a little bit of a pit battle going on here between Hayes and Coates, because Hayes seems to be content to stay behind, despite seeming to have a little bit more pace. You know, he drove right up to the back of Coates.
Here's Ray Lombardi to pit entry, and Trevor Roy makes a very, very last-minute decision to follow him in, and you can see who's practiced this pit entry and who hasn't. Those yellow cones there, that's the start of the pit lane speed limit. There's only 5 corners in the pit entry that you've got to attack at racing speed before you slow it up. Looking for where their garage is. They're sequentially numbered. How handy.
Oh, we've had a little bit of a drama back in the open class. It looks like Paulo Coimbra and Kane Lasky have come together on the way into the chase. And Kane Lasky, we'll see it again here. Coimbra gets a bit of a draft, gets a bit of a run, looks up the inside, and he tags Lasky on the inside. And the two of them unstable into the wall. And that's taking the bumper off of Lasky's car and maybe a little bit more, only costing Paulo some time as he turns it around and limps on. He's going to continue. The car doesn't look straight to me, but he hasn't decided to take it to the pits either.
So Ray Lombardi through the pit lane in 17 seconds of service. It's dropped Trevor Roy, who had a longer stop. Trevor Roy has come out only just in front of Camden Hibbert, who we know can be very, very quick. Hibbert's got the speed, looks to the inside of Griffin's Bend, takes that track position, takes that camber and that banking away, and moves up a spot. Slow stop and slow entry for Trevor Roy. Now maybe dropping him away from podium contention where he was before that stop.
Checking back in on that battle group between Jordy Fike and David Stabe at 7th and 8th place. The two of them were real close on the way up the mountain. A little bit of a separation forming now as they've gone through the dipper, but I'm curious to see if Stabe's going to get the better run here out of the elbow. And just up the road, they've got Tom Aton. Despite the fact that these two are battling, they do seem to do the mountain a little bit better than Aton, so he's going to be in this picture really soon. Long way back for Stabe, but that's a lot of time to gather momentum as they come over the crest, down the Conrad Straight, maxing these cars out 130 mile an hour at the chase. And a big break there from Stabe kind of gives them, he lets them off easy. Nathan stays out. We'll see if this whole pack does again. Looks like Shabelsky thought about it for a second, but they're all going to stay out for another round the mountain.
Yeah, indeed. Should be still a little lap or two longer before any of them are forced to pit at the end of the pit window.
The only taker I'm seeing this lap is Lee Martin, taking the pit lane from 13th place after qualifying 23rd.
Sean Hayes down the inside of Michael Coates at turn number 2, Griffin's Bend. Kind of move that maybe suggests this could be an in-lap from these drivers. So now Hayes up in a second, Coates in third. Ray Lombardi pitted earlier from this group with a very quick pit stop. They need to be mindful of that if they go long here but then have a slow stop, they will be undercut by Lombardi. So they can't mess about too much on this in-lap here. Doesn't look like too much messing about from Sean Hayes at the moment. He's trying to push the limits a little bit across the top of the mountain and then over the top and back down again. Little kiss on the curb, the S's there towards the dipper. How close do you get? You near enough get all 4 tires airborne just as you're turning in there. So you've got to be on the right line when the car grips up again and it doesn't push you out wide into the wall or spin you around. And he comes out of the elbow with a couple of car lengths to Coates as well. So quick through that part of the track. He'll either have to defend or get leapfrogged now.
And if this is the in-lap, we'll have to say that Sean Hayes is probably hoping to stay ahead. Let's see what it looks like, though. Pretty good gap to Coates. Going to be hard for him to overtake. Clean on both of them. Better run for Coates on the exit.
The answer is neither of them pitting. Oh, no, they will. Michael Coates doesn't want to show his intention to Sean Hayes. Simon Bramley is in from the race lead, so it needs to be a good stop. Had over a 10-second lead, did Bramley, before this moment. So it doesn't need to be a tenth of a second precise from Bramley, but he also couldn't afford speeding on pit lane or a mistake on pit entry. He hits his box right at pit exit, belonging to the pole sitter. Service begins. 17 seconds is the best we've seen so far, and that belonged to Ray Lombardi. Everyone else a little closer to 20 seconds or so. For Bramley, I haven't seen any hint of tyres. Fueling going on up to 22 seconds. So he will rejoin, still ahead of Coates, still ahead of Ray Lombardi.
Yeah, pretty good gap back to Camden, but that's not completely unsurprising after Camden's dramas earlier.
So then Michael Coates, you see him rejoin only just ahead of Ray Lombardi. Lombardi will have more speed coming up the hill. Orlando Herald hasn't stopped, is in front of Lombardi at the moment, so Ray needs to try to clear Herald pretty quickly here if he can. Looking to the inside at Griffin's Bend and point it straight to the apex, and you pick up the camber and the banking, and it can help you around there.
Yeah, nicely executed. Clipping the curb on the entry, making that thing rotate. Orlando Herald gets wide. It's a little bit hard to hold the wide line, but plenty of room given. And kind of showing the reality of this track, you know, regardless of how skilled you are, it is a bit of a race against the track today, as much as it's a race against your competitors.
4-second quicker stop for Lombardi than Bramley, the race leader. Still not enough to put him in touch. Still 10 seconds away from our net race leader, who isn't going to catch any traffic because he's ahead of Herald, but still the next car that hasn't stopped is Gilliland, almost 12 seconds further up from him, and we expect another flurry on pit lane this time towards the end of the window with just 17 minutes left in the race.
Yeah, saw a little fake there from Sean Hayes, but he's we're not expecting to see him on the pit lane. No, we could see him, I guess, this time, but he doesn't take it. We do have Tom Aton, leader of the open class, taking it. Currently running in fourth. It'll be interesting to see where he shakes out here. These are big money points for him. You know, 85 points if we were to finish in fourth, which is a real haul for an open class driver. I want to say in the open class, the highest points we've seen so far this season for any one driver is 67. So this would be a real big boon to his championship hopes. Big group of takers though. That's Dave Stabe, Jordy Fike, we're seeing taking the stop, Brian Schabelsky, and Andrew Gilliland, the other open competitor in that pack, taking a stop as well.
So it's everyone but Sean Hayes, Rui Coimbra, and Orlando Herald Charles Vaccaro at the moment. They're going to rejoin behind some of those drivers that stopped earlier. It puts the field a little closer to back into its rightful order, where I would say the top five, once they all stop, is going to look like Bramley, Michael Coates, Ray Lombardi, Camden Hibbett, and Trevor Roy. So for that early stop, Camden Hibbett's looking like fourth place is still possible. It all depends on what this final stop looks like for Sean Hayes, who's going to get counted as leading at least one lap.
Oh, a little bit of drama between fifth and sixth. Brian Schabelsky and David Stabe. Schabelsky got a really good push from Stabe as they were going up the hill, and then kind of drifted right and touched the grass as he was trying to defend on the way into Griffin's Bend there. Cleans it up though, and the two of them will continue nose to tail up the mountain. Pretty good gap between them and Andrew Gilliland too, so if Gilliland was hoping to make up ground on Tom Aton, he's going to be hard pressed to do it.
So here's Sean Hayes, one of the last drivers yet to stop. He's 25 seconds ahead of Timon Bramley, who has, 30 seconds ahead of Rory Coimbra, who hasn't. Really, it's the drivers he was battling beforehand, Michael Coates, Ray Lombardi, Trevor Roy, Geordie Fike, that he's got to be worried about when it comes to his stop.
Must be said, Sean Hayes having a really good race.
Slow entry, really slow pit entry from Sean Hayes. It hurts me to see.
Yeah, you gotta recce. You gotta figure out where that first timing light is, where they're gonna start checking your speed limit and get the gun out, because he could have run that in a lot faster. That's gonna hurt the in lap for sure. I was gonna mention Sean Hayes and Roy Lombardi kind of had a friendly rivalry thing going on in the past, so slow stop like this might have Lombardi cheering on. Rory Coimbra on the pit lane as well, as Lombardi hits the pit straight. And you got to think with that slow entry, Hayes is going to come out, and if he comes out, it'll be right beside Lombardi. Two of them are going to be real close here. Lombardi's going to have the run, Hayes is going to have the position. We'll see if that reverses itself on the way up the mountain.
They just can't cover off the speed that the drivers on the racetrack have got. Ray Lombardi's going to go past. Camden Hibbett would follow him. Might almost be sensible to apply a little bump, and he doesn't. He goes half a car width to the inside. There's not room to put the car there, and still Camden Hibbett wanted to try Ray Lombardi, parking it for the inside. Hibbett trying to cut back, cross back, but I don't think that works. Even if you've got speed here, you just can't get to the inside, which is where you're going to need to be, up in the cutting, too wide through the little kink that precedes it. Lombardi still parking the car in all the right places. Camden Hibbett getting really aggressive. And this is a big day for him. Third in the points coming in. He still can't get to the inside coming up the mountain. First and second in the points not present. So this is a big day that Hibbett needs a result.
It's touch and go though, man. I'm worried about him. I want to see him facing the right way for the rest of this race after those dramas earlier. He ran it tight up the inside at Griffin's earlier. It comes over the crest here, and given a little bit of space to Lombardi ahead, we can just breathe a sigh of relief as they go into the dipper, believe it or not. Lombardi cuts it close, gets a really nice line through there. Not enough to get a gap though, and they're going to come out of the elbow. We'll see who gets the better run here, but this could be critical on the way into the chase. Better line for Hibbett, you got to say. Real close to that inside wall, and he's going to be tucked up underneath Lombardi this time. We'll see if he's got what it takes going into the chase.
And I got to correct myself. Championship leader Ronnie Coates not here. Chris Brunham a second, already at DNF. Camden Hibbett from third in points is looking to move ahead of Ray Lombardi down Conrod Straight, the highest speed these cars will see around this track. And he gets ahead, parks it on the inside. Says, Ray Lombardi, you're not getting past me easy. Is the shallow entry going to cost him on the exit? Because Lombardi then has to look back to the outside of the final corner. Sean Hayes watches on as they're 2x2 in front of him. The final corner around the outside seems gutsy, but Lombardi's going to try it. Hibbett gets too much of the curb at the apex. Lombardi gets too much of the grass on the exit, and it's all even Stevens heading towards turn number 1 with 11 minutes to go.
Oh, Sean Hayes is getting a great view of this race. Oh, and a little bit of a slide there at the apex from Hibbett as he takes a lot of curb once again. Doesn't quite manage to clear it off. Sean Hayes is going to get the run and the draft this time up the mountain.
Trevor Roy in the black car joins the party as well, and they're all a snake following the slipstream of Ray Lombardi, third place up the hill. If they keep battling like this, they are not going to catch Michael Coates, and in fact, no way are they going to catch Michael Coates. He's got a very nice lead in second. It's all about the battle for the podium. Lombardi into Griffin's Bend, very wide. Sean Hayes has a run, thinks I'm not going to be able to get past. Camden Hibbett then gets to the inside of him for the cutting, and they make contact. Hayes gets sent into the outside wall. Hibbett goes up a spot. Hayes looks to continue, but there is no easy or light hits against the concrete around here.
Yeah, these square-walled concretes just suck the car in. It actually was pretty impressive how Sean Hayes managed to bounce off the wall, because usually when you start dragging on this wall, it's just hard to get the car to stop sticking. But now he has to go over the skyline, and he doesn't know if that car is going to go the right way when he turns the wheel.
Car still looks mostly okay for Sean Hayes, but that's not what you'd want to do. Be in the wall on the outside of the cutting in traffic like this as well. So this is third through to sixth. Tom Athon leading the open class, back in seventh outright with Geordie Fike with him. Andrew Gilliland behind a couple more cars there as well. So things looking good for Athon at the moment, but it won't be stress-free with Geordie Fike right behind him.
Yeah, he's got about 12 seconds back to Andrew Gilliland there, but things change at the mountain quickly, and all it takes is one bad corner, and all of a sudden 12 seconds, you wish you had it, because you got to go change the right front corner off the car. Athon going to be holding on this time with Geordie Fike getting a real big run on him. Fike opts this time for the push rather than the move at the chase, but with only 8 minutes to go, you got to think that eventually he's going to decide, hey, I want that position. Remember, Open and Pro Class are competing for the same points. It's all about finishing position.
Camden Hibbett goes for the crossover at the museum corner, and it works on Ray Lombardi, who got too much of the curb, too much of the grass there, and Hibbett moves up into third. That's track position, but it's so tough to maintain with the long straights around here. It's so tough to maintain when you make a dog's breakfast of turn number one, and Ray Lombardi, Sean Hayes, and Trevor Roy all go right back past him. Hard work undone.
That was reminiscent of the mistake we saw from Odyssey earlier today, but a little bit better job saving it on the exit. You put that inside rear tire over the curb, and when it drops back down, the suspension unloads and the car just starts wiggling on you. There's nothing you can do.
He's back in it, but all of that track position, all of that work undone. 4 laps to go by my count here. Timon Bramley leading 8.5 seconds. Michael Coates has found a little bit more speed after his pit stop. So I don't see that lead from Bramley actually extending on this lap, but it would be massive, massive work to close it back down, and you'd be relying on Bramley to have miscalculated the fuel, I'd have to think. So Lombardi in third. With all that went on, he got a couple more car lengths over Sean Hayes, brought Trevor Roy into this. Camden Hibbett, remember how quick he was this part of the track early on. He'll be right with them by the end of the elbow, coming down onto Conrod Straight this lap, you'd think.
Yeah, absolutely. Hayes is really pushing through the middle of the mountain there. You got to think that he's still got that Season 10 Open Championship in the back of his brain, where Ray Lombardi just stole it at the last moment from him. Oh, it's really tight between these two.
Sure is. Down the hill, highest speed I've seen, about 225 kilometers an hour. And you need a slipstream to hit that kind of speed, because it's only been 215 for Timon Bramley as his best speed, trap speed, and he's never slipstreamed anyone this whole race, converting very well from that pole position to his race lead at the moment. Great view at the chase. Big stop, big gravel traps, and they need them. And I can't afford that hotel. So here's Hibbett again, trying to go around the outside, digging up some dirt in the chase, trying to get past Trevor Roy, trying to redo all of the work he's done the previous laps.
Yeah, tough. There's not a lot of spots that are easy to pass here. First corner is one of them. He's got a bit of time, but he'd have to break real late to make it happen this time. And now he's going to be stuck behind Roy as they go up the mountain. He might get a draft here, but with Roy getting the draft off of Hayes, you'd have to think that Hayes is the one who's kind of the sitting duck. Sure enough, Roy's looking up the inside as they come over the crest on their way up the mountain. They're too wide, and Camden Hibbett's looking too. He's got a big run up the inside of Hayes as well. Hayes goes from fourth all the way back. Oh, and he's out in the dirt, out in the marbles, manages to keep it off the wall, but that's cost him a lot of momentum, and these are momentum cars, particularly when you're going up a 30% grade on a hill like this.
Sean Hayes had the shortest pit stop of anyone in the field, and I wonder if when he's leading in this pack, he doesn't just realize, uh-oh, this race is going maybe one lap more than I expected, or maybe he's in a little bit of fuel troubles here. That's what I would guess for Sean Hayes. He was nearly in wall troubles. That was no doubt, but it might have been started as they all got past him when he rapidly realized he needed to save a chunk of fuel. The race pace from the leader, Timon Bramley, might be making this race go a lap longer than some may have anticipated. Almost out to a 10-second lead now for Bramley over Michael Coates. Michael Coates with a 10-second lead over Ray Lombardi. It's behind Ray Lombardi in third, where the fireworks have been so far. But he looks like he could break away from Roy and Hibbert if they fight and don't work together. What will Hibbert do now? Coming on a Conrod straight, does he push Roy or does he try to pass Roy? He looks like he's going for the pass.
Yeah, Roy says, no, you don't get the inside at the chase. But the problem with that is that he'll get the inside at the next corner. And it's not even going to matter because Hibbert takes the spot with the draft on the way up the hill, and he gets to weave back and forth on their way in. And lots of space as he turns in. And a good run too, and I gotta think that Ray Lombardi's back on the table here with just 4 minutes to go this time when they cross the line.
Yep, 2 more laps. It's going to need to be a big mistake or an act of God for anyone to catch the race leader, for Ray Lombardi to catch Michael Coates in second, but anything could happen from here all the way through the rest of the field. I feel like Hibbert does have the car pace around the track to be able to catch Lombardi to fight for that podium, but he needs to keep it clean. That's what he struggled with, even from the formation lap. And it's about what does Trevor Roy decide to do here? Does he go with Hibbert or does he fight Hibbert? Sean Hayes has dropped 6 seconds per lap on the last lap. I think he is in mega fuel troubles. Tom Athon still looks good in the open class, but with Geordie Fike close, and you can't let your guard down until you cross that checkered flag at a circuit like this.
And if you're Tom Athon, you're getting really excited seeing Sean Hayes getting real close on that relative. All of a sudden, Hayes' car is looming ahead of him, and that's another chunk of points for him. Running in 7th, if he manages to make that move, that'll be another 3 points, up to 79 points potentially for a 6th place finish. Geordie Fike, though, isn't going to make it easy on him, you gotta think. Hayes partial throttle up the hill.
Well, you can save a lot coming down the hill, but it is very difficult to save fuel going uphill. Physics, you don't need a PhD in it to figure that out.
Yeah, I've seen some video guys putting, toy cars up at the top of this thing and letting it roll all the way down to the elbow.
They were yellow 2-seaters as well. Tom Athon a little off the line here, but the way it's going, he is going to catch Hayes. He is going to bring Fike with him as well. And if Sean Hayes continues to drop 6 seconds per lap, don't count out Brian Zabelski and David Stab from getting in this as well and really punishing Sean Hayes.
Up in the distance there, you can see Ray Lombardi and Camden Hibbert engaged in some serious weaving down the Conrad Straight. Ray taking kind of an interesting line here that's going to throw both him and Camden off, I got to think, as they get into the chase real tight on the right-hander. Both of them have a bit of a slide on the exit. Bigger slide for Ray than Camden. Camden's got the run, and he's going to push for maybe the first time all race, push into the last corner.
I'm not sure we expected that. I'm not sure Ray Lombardi expected that. But starting the final lap with a minute on the clock, Timon Bramley leads. Michael Coates is in second, and third is all to play for between Ray Lombardi, who's had his shoulders out wide. He refuses to give a track position, refuses to make it easy. But Camden Hibbert, very talented young racer, an immense amount of speed, and apparently no fear or self-preservation. It's a recipe for something to happen. Whether it's sweet or sour, we don't know yet.
In the background, Sean Hayes dives onto the pit lane for a little bit more fuel as they go too wide. Camden Hibbert around the outside. Hard to make that move work here with the camera advantage you've got on the inside. Ray Lombardi's going to stick it. You got to think, though, if you're Camden Hibbert, you just want to keep close all the way through the mountain and then take that on the Conrad Straight, right?
What's the opposite of progressive banking? Progressive banking, that's what you've got at turn number 2 here. NASCAR would never, but you saw again Ray Lombardi placing the car like not going to give you the inside, not going to give you the inside, but it brings Trevor Roy back into the battle, and it really steals Cam's Inhibit's desire to make this move, stand on the podium, and potentially go to the championship lead at this crucial juncture halfway through the season for Spec-5 World Tour.
They're glued together over Skyline. Oh, and Camden gets real close to the inside wall, takes all the curb. We'll see who's the bravest through the dipper. Pretty equal, all things considered. One last big corner here on the mountain that they got to be really committed for. It's tight to the outside wall as Camden, a little bit tighter on the apex as well, I think, and he gets a good run, and that's going to be enough, you got to think, to give him the run on Ray Lombardi here.
It's all or nothing in the final sector of the final lap for Spec-5 World Tour on Mount Panorama. Simon Bramley, supreme on home turf, the Australian to the final corner. He had the pole position. He's led every lap outside of the pit window, and he takes the checkered flag for the race win. Michael Coates is behind him, but in third place, they make contact. Ray Lombardi parks it in the chase, parks it in front of Cam's Inhibit. Here comes Trevor Roy with speed, 2 wheels in the dirt. He hip checks Ray Lombardi. He comes through for a podium. Lombardi's going to block out Cam's Inhibit, not going to give him anything. Lombardi, does he make contact with Roy? He doesn't. Michael Coates took second. Trevor Roy took third, and Cam's Inhibit crosses back underneath Ray Lombardi to take fourth and put Lombardi back into fifth. Geordie Fike gets up into sixth. Tomathon, the open class winner, in seventh place. Zabelski and Stab behind cross the line, and Andrew Gilliland will be second in the open class. Third, fourth, fifth, we knew it was a barrel full of gunpowder with a lit fuse heading towards this final lap.
And critically, that's a 13-point difference between first and second in that open field. Andrew Gilliland crossing the line in 11th place. Tom Ayton in 7th overall. So big point swing there. We got Sean Hayes crossing the line after that late pit stop for a little bit of extra fuel, and things are calming down behind. Just stragglers coming down the mountain now. Cars in various state of damage and struggle. Lee Martin crosses the line for 13th place, surviving from 23rd on the grid. No qualifying time set to 13th overall. Quality race from him. Charles Vaccaro crossing the line, 3rd in the open class. Orlando Harrell going to have a spot here in 4th as well, coming from 21st all the way up to 15th. Greg Mack in the number 2 car will be our next finisher, one of the last few cars on the lead lap. Mack getting caught up in some of those dramas earlier on in the race as well. Green and white car coming around the chase. Heard some funny stories from deep in the field. You might have noticed I want to say Andy Cossack missing. Heard that he managed to money shift the car, take himself out of the race. So that explains one of our DNFs tonight. Greg Mack crosses the line safely for 16th. Odyssey Adams and Jose Gonzalez are going to be our last 2 to the line. And is Odyssey out of fuel? Yeah, Odyssey is rolling it down the hill into the pit lane, I think. Oh, he can't break that much. Not if you want to hold on to the spot. Jose Gonzalez coming around the outside. We've got a funny little drama here. Jose is going to lose. Doesn't manage to take the spot away from Odyssey with the pro move, must be said.
Yeah, Odyssey Adams Jr. held on by 2/10 there with the shorter run to where the checkered flag is. And yeah, 1 lap down, Paulo Coimbra, and then Chris Brunema on the lane there. 3 times through the lane, and a retirement for the driver who was second in the pro class standings coming into this. Let's look at the results, how they crossed the line, and boy, oh boy, that final lap delivered what you expect to see from some of the great races at the great circuit Mount Panorama. Simon Bramley, the winner from Michael Coates. Trevor Roy came from 11th on the grid to steal a podium away on the final lap in the final corners. Cam's Inhibit and Ray Lombardi, those 2 absolute sparring boxing partners, contact multiple times on the final lap, and Cam's Inhibit just sneaking past Ray Lombardi between the final corner and the checkered flag by less than 1/10 of a second. And then Geordie Fike, Tom Ayton, open class winner, Brian Zabelski, David Stabe, Rui Coimbra completing the top 10. Andrew Gilliland continues the solid results in open class with a second. And then Sean Hayes, what could have been It's all falling apart around the pit stop as far as his race was concerned. Lee Martin, 13th, Charles Vaccaro, Orlando Herald, Greg Mack, Odyssey Adams Jr., Jose Gonzalez, Paulo Coimbra, the last car to finish. Retirements, because this track is not easy. Chris Brunemer, Kane Lasky, Andy Cosick, and Simon Foweather. Fair to say Simon Foweather probably the one most damaged by other cars than by barriers.
True that. On the points front, I got to think that Michael Coates has actually been the winner here. Second place finish for him will take him from fourth in the points, leapfrogging Camden Himmett all the way to the lead by the looks of things. My napkin math might be a little bit off here. We'll wait till the unofficial points come out, but or to the actual official points come out rather. But a great points race from him and a great one from Camden as well. And I don't see another car in the top 10 in the points until Odyssey Adams. And Odyssey, of course, had a tough day today, all the way down in 17th. So a lot of different folks that are showing up today and putting in a performance for us. Absolutely.
Let's see if we can get our open class winner, Tom Athon. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Now, I'm, of course, very, very biased about this racetrack, but it is massively, massively challenging. And one of those tracks, like the Nordschleife, where you've got to survive the track first and then the racing second.
Absolutely. And I believe this is the first time I ran a race here and I didn't wreck. I may have finished before, but with damage. And I only had one incident. I can't believe it.
You either have no incidents or you have big incidents. I think it's fair to say about tracks like this. Overall, your experience, though, because as an open class driver, when you can get some pro class cars between yourself and your competition, is it more stressful or less stressful?
I was focusing out my windshield. Camden Hibbett was behind me. I was just doing my laps and he stayed 3 seconds behind me. I couldn't believe it. I thought I was slow going down the hill, but I had to be safe. And safe I was. And, I think I only really gave up one position. That was to Jordy.
Well, you come away with a great haul of points. You're hitting your stride at a great time in the championship as well, banking another win, going to the lead of open class. Well done.
Thanks. Thank you very much. It was fun.
And final thoughts. Do you have anyone to thank?
Well, I thank my Not a Team teammates. They make it fun. We practice together, and thank you guys for doing a great job on the broadcast. And thanks the admin for their all their time they put in making this a great league.
Awesome. Best of luck next week at Interlagos and for the rest of the championship whenever and wherever we see you.
All right. Thank you.
There we go. Open class winner and championship leader. So, Mathon, we didn't show a whole lot of him, I think, throughout that 45 minutes. And if you're going to have a good result in open class, that's probably how it goes.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of good results, I think Tim and Bradley's been dragged off by the rev heads and the kangaroos out into the fields to drink some beers. But in the meantime, I found the likes of Michael Coates, probably the big winner from the points perspective today, it must be said. Michael?
Hey guys, thanks for having me. It was a great race. Not how I was, hoping it would start, obviously, but I kind of figured I had more anxiety this race about getting a good qualifying time than probably any other race in the entire, season so far. So it felt good to get qualified up front and, avoid some of the shenanigans, but can't avoid everything. And then getting caught. I was just really amazed that after I did the spin, I survived it and kept on going realistically.
We were pretty impressed. The track at Bathurst took a few prisoners today, and looked like you managed to get away, all things considered, with pretty mild consequences for some of the stuff out there.
I mean, yeah, I can't really complain too much. I really just wanted to give, is it Timon time? I wish I knew how to pronounce his name, but I wish I could have given Mr. Bramley a much better race, but I was really looking forward to it after some of the practice races. But, such is racing, unfortunately. But it was still, I think, a pretty great race, all things considered.
Yeah, it looked like pretty clean racing out there for me. I've been told by the production crew that it's not Timon, it's Timon.
Timon. I apologize. Yes.
No worries. But pretty good race from you, and I must say, a clean jump over the barrier on the celebration lap too.
I wish I could have held it, but I was like, oh wait, kind of accidentally, but I did not want to run out of fuel at that point, so I put an extra, lap in, and I was like, might as well use it.
That is well done. Quality racing out there and patient racing. Did you think at any point you had something for Timon?
Other than the once we got that, final corner cluster, I kind of knew, like, I figured unless something crazy happened, I wasn't really going to have a chance. I thought about fuel saving. I was like, there's no way I can save enough to, and at that point I was still trying to like stay away from the rest of the field, unfortunately. So it was just kind of battle, and kind of figured I'd hopefully get a podium, and managed. So no complaints here.
Good stuff. Anyone you need to thank for the race tonight?
Obviously our sponsor, Aussie, for being able to put on this broadcast. You guys do a great job. Always love watching the broadcast after the race, and all the racers, the whole league. I mean, everybody's really, wouldn't happen if everybody didn't show up every week and try their best to put on a good show, basically.
Well, props to you on a great finish, and thanks again for putting on a great show.
Thank you, guys. Thanks again.
Awesome, Devin. Great to speak to some of our drivers post-race, and what an exciting and challenging venue it is. One of my favorites. Next week, though, they roll on to Interlagos, Brazil. It truly is a Spec-5 World Tour. Italy, Australia, Brazil, 3 consecutive weeks, and great to hear from Michael Coates there as well. What we already know, which is thanks to RC Sales Porsche parts. Go to rcsales.com for all that is Porsche. RC has thousands of parts available for virtually any Porsche model, providing high-quality service with a personal approach, and with worldwide shipping available, you won't need to go anywhere else. Visit rcsales.com today. When I visited rcsales.com a little while ago, they had some very, very interesting things, including some more modern engines put into a Porsche 914. That looked like an absolute treat. And it's great to have their support to make this broadcast possible here on HJBC with myself, David Haynes, Devin Peters, and Michael Derby. Catch us in a week's time, when we'll also be bringing you live coverage of Spec-5 World Tour as they head to Interlagos.